They ate human flesh. Nevada's Cave Dwellers, 1858. Welcome to Native Legends and History Stories, where forgotten tales of America's past come alive. Subscribe now to uncover the dark secrets buried in the shadows of the American frontier. Run the elders scream. Pierce the night as dozens of Paiute warriors sprinted through the Great Basin desert, their torches illuminating bloody tracks in the sand. Behind them, inhuman howls echoed from the mouth of a massive cave. Inside, 26 red-haired warriors fought desperately as flames consumed everything. The cave, once their hunting ground, would become their tomb. This wasn't just another tribal conflict. In Nevada's history, this was the culmination of a war between the Paiute people and a tribe of cannibals who had terrorized them for generations. The story of this final battle, preserved through oral tradition, would later be documented by Sarah Winnemucca, a remarkable woman who witnessed her own people's struggle for survival in the American West. Born near Lake Humboldt in northern Nevada in 1844, Sarah was the granddaughter of Chief Truckee, a visionary leader who chose cooperation over conflict after befriending explorer John Fremont in 1843. Chief Truckee fought alongside the U.S. Army in the Spanish-American War and fostered peaceful relations with white settlers moving into Paiute territory. By 1858, at just 14 years old, Sarah and her sister found themselves living with Major William Ormsby's family near Carson City, Nevada. The Major led the local militia of settlers, and under his roof the girls learned English with remarkable speed, thanks to the family's kindness. "We learned the English language very fast, for they were very kind to us," Sarah would later write about that time in 1858. Their presence symbolized the unique peace between the two communities. Along the Carson River, 21 settler families had established their homes, creating a diverse tapestry of frontier life. The Olds family claimed the uppermost territory, with their cattle grazing on the rich riverside grass. The Palmers and Jobs followed downstream, their children often seen fishing along the banks. Dr. Daggett maintained his medical practice in a modest cabin, while Van Sickle lived alone, trading with both settlers and natives. Thornton's household stood out with its 2 wives. Not lived alone in his modest cabin, keeping to himself. Even more remarkable were the Roos brothers, one managing 3 wives, the other 5. Their large families contributing significantly to the growing settlement. The 3 Sids brothers shared a bachelor's home, followed by the solitary Gilbert, who worked as a blacksmith. Aldrich ran the local trading post with his family's help. After Major Ormsby's prominent residence came the Adams brothers' farm, then a succession of others. The Jones family with their prized horses, the Millers who operated the grain mill, the lone settlers Brown and Elsie, the Ellis family known for their hospitality, the Williams brothers who trapped fur, and finally the Cole and Black families who maintained the southernmost ranches near Humboldt Lake. These early years marked a unique period of cooperation. The Paiutes traded their swift horses for the settlers, guns establishing a mutually beneficial relationship. No livestock disappeared from the settlers' lands. No property was stolen, a peace that seemed unbreakable. Even as more wagons arrived carrying new settlers, the Paiutes maintained their generous spirit, never demanding compensation for sharing their ancestral lands. Each evening, as Sarah finished her lessons with the Ormsby family, she would often sit with the elders of her tribe, who gathered near Carson City. They shared stories of the past, including the terrifying tale of the red-haired tribe. These warriors would emerge from their caves at night, setting elaborate traps along well-worn paths. They didn't just hunt for food. They hunted humans, dragging their victims into dark caverns that echoed with screams. The elders spoke of finding empty graves, of children disappearing in the night, of an evil that had plagued their people, until the final devastating battle. By 1859, the Great Basin's landscape had transformed beyond recognition. Mormon wagon trains snaked through Carson Valley in ever-increasing numbers, establishing settlements that would grow into the bustling Carson City. Mines carved into mountainsides, while farms spread across valleys and plains, marking territories that had belonged to the Paiutes for generations. White settlers now called this land home, building stores, trading posts, and homesteads wherever resources allowed. Sarah and her sister continued their life with Major Ormsby's family, while their parents and the rest of their people made camp at Pyramid Lake. The sisters found themselves caught between two worlds, their traditional life with the Paiutes and their adopted home with the settlers. Though separated from their parents, they took comfort in the kindness of the Ormsbys, who had become like a second family. As winter approached, John McCullen, a trader widely respected by both settlers and Paiutes, prepared for his annual journey to California. His store, situated 30 miles downstream along Carson River, needed substantial winter provisions. Together with McWilliams, he carried a considerable sum of money for supplies. The two men departed as night fell, making camp in the mountain passes that linked Nevada to California. They never reached their destination. In the darkness, unknown assailants struck. The killers, after shooting both men with guns or pistols, carefully placed arrows in the wounds, a calculated attempt to cast blame on native tribes. By morning, words spread through settler communities. Indians killed John McCullen. The accusers, when pressed for evidence, pointed to the arrows protruding from the bodies. That same afternoon, a group of 30 men ventured into the mountains to recover the corpses, bringing back both bodies and the planted arrows as grim proof of their claims. The gravity of the situation prompted Major Ormsby to summon Natchez, Sarah's brother and peace chief of the Paiutes, along with their cousin young Winnemucca and 100 tribal members within 2 days. They arrived at what would become a pivotal gathering. The tension was palpable as Major Ormsby displayed the arrows, seeking answers. Young Winnemucca examined the arrows closely before declaring to the assembled settlers, "These belong to the Washoe tribe." Major Ormsby turned to Natchez, their longtime ally, pleading, "Will you help us bring in the Washoe chief? We need him to surrender those responsible for these murders." Natchez, maintaining the spirit of cooperation his father, Chief Truckee, had established, agreed to assist in finding McMullen's killers. That evening, the Paiutes organized a war dance, the first Sarah had ever witnessed. White settlers gathered in numbers to observe the ceremony, their faces showing mixed expressions of fascination and unease. Lizzie Ormsby moved through the crowd, repeatedly asking, "Where is Natchez?" But his ceremonial dress rendered him unrecognizable, even to those who knew him well. As the dance concluded, Major Ormsby rallied his men to sing the Star-Spangled Banner. Sarah noted how differently it sounded from her grandfather's rendition, her first time hearing the anthem performed by white voices. Young Winnemucca, exercising his authority as war chief, selected 5 warriors to locate and escort the Washoe chief. The following morning, they returned with Chief Jam and 10 members of his tribe. White settlers immediately encircled the Washoe delegation as Major Ormsby presented the arrows, demanding, "Do you recognize these?" Chief Jam straightened his shoulders and replied firmly, "You ask if these are my people's arrows. I say yes," before he could elaborate. Major Ormsby declared, "That's all we need to hear." Through Natchez's translation, he issued his ultimatum to Chief Jam. "Your people have killed 2 men. Bring us the murderers and return the stolen money. Cooperate and no harm will come to anyone." Standing amidst the hostile crowd, Chief Jam defended his people with unwavering conviction. "I know with certainty that my people are innocent of these murders. Every one of our men has been present in Pine Nut Valley. This tragic event bewilders us as much as it does you." His words hung heavy in the air, but the settlers had already made their judgment. Young Winnemucca's voice cut through the tense silence. "These are your arrows, yet you deny everything." His fingers gripped the blood-stained arrows tighter. 10 days, you have 10 days. To bring us the killers of our white brothers. Their kindness to us demands justice." His eyes swept across the gathering. "Who among your people could be so heartless?" The Washoe delegation departed with bowed heads and trembling hands. As their figures disappeared into the distance, Natchez gathered his men in a tight circle, their whispered concerns carried away by the wind. Each warrior shook his head in disbelief. Something about this situation felt wrong. 6 days passed before Chief Jam returned. This time 3 young Washoe men stumbled before him. their wrists bound with rope. One's wife clung to his arm, while the mothers of the other two followed, close behind, their faces etched with desperation. White settlers converged on the prisoners like vultures, clapping iron handcuffs around their wrists, before dragging them to a makeshift jail, a small wooden house on the settlement's edge. Dawn brought a crowd of settlers pressed against the jail's windows. "Hang the devils!" The shouts grew louder, as young boys pelted the building with stones, their cruel laughter mixing with vicious slurs. The prisoners huddled inside, flinching at each impact. At 3 o'clock, a column of 31 armed men appeared on the horizon, rifles gleaming on their shoulders. Their synchronized footsteps thundered across the ground as they approached the jail. Natchez and young Winnemucca rushed to intercept them, but were drowned out by a piercing scream. "They've come to kill them." A Washoe woman's wail echoed across the valley, her grief so raw it seemed to shake the mountains. Other women joined her lament, until their combined sorrow filled the air for miles around. Natchez tried to quiet them, but their pleas only grew more desperate. Great Chief, one mother clutched at his buckskin shirt, tears streaming down her weathered face. "My son is innocent. None of our men have left the camp in over a month. Our chief sacrificed these fatherless boys to protect the rest of us." Her fingers dug deeper into the fabric. "Please, you must believe us." A young girl no more than 12 grabbed his arm. "Mighty chieftain, my brother is all mother and I have left. We depend on his hunting to survive." Her voice cracked with desperation. "He's as innocent as you are, as innocent as the sun rising each morning." The new bride of one prisoner threw herself at young Winnemucca's feet, her body shaking with sobs. "We were only married this winter," she choked out between gasps. "I've never left his side. Please let the good spirits move your hearts to mercy." Suddenly, she lifted her tear-stained face toward Chief Jam, her voice turning bitter. "You gave my innocent husband to them to save yourself. You coward." Natchez stepped forward to address the gathered Washoes. "These men will be taken to California to face trial." His words were cut short by a woman's shriek. "Look, they're taking them." The crowd surged forward as the prisoners were let out. In an instant, the 3 men broke free, sprinting toward the open desert. Gunshots cracked through the air. 2 prisoners stumbled, blood blossoming on their shirts. The third skidded to a stop, raising his hands in surrender, but it was too late by sunset. All 3 lay dead at first light. The Washists rushed to claim their dead. The young bride collapsed over her husband's body, her keening piercing the dawn silence around her. Others gathered, their combined grief so profound it seemed the very mountains should weep in sympathy. Their tears soaked the earth, where 3 innocent men had fallen, sacrificed to appease the settlers' demand for justice. The morning air filled with anguished wails as Washoe women clutched their dead, blood seeping into their clothes. Their hands trembled as they brushed dirt from cold faces, cleaned wounds, and prepared the bodies according to their customs. Some gathered sacred herbs, while others began constructing the funeral pyres that would send their loved ones to the spirit world. Sarah stumbled through the settlement, vision blurred by tears, her moccasins leaving crimson prints on Mrs. Ormsby's clean wooden floor. As she burst inside, her chest heaved with sobs. As she gripped the back of a chair for support, the Washoe women speak truth, she choked out between ragged breaths. "I watch their men every day. They never left their camp. How could they have killed the traitors?" Her words tumbled out, desperate to convey every mother's plea, every wife's cry, every sister's desperate appeal she had witnessed. Mrs. Ormsby continued, her mending needle flashing steadily through fabric. "The arrows tell their own story, child," she replied without looking up, her voice carrying the weight of certainty. "Their chief brought them himself. These matters are best left to my husband's judgment." When Sarah returned to the execution site, the morning sun cast long shadows across the blood-stained earth. Chief Jam stood with Natchez, his proud shoulders now bent with an invisible burden. He extended a trembling finger toward the bodies being prepared for burial. The women spoke true, his voice cracked like dry timber. "I must confess I killed those innocent men. Their spirits will walk my dreams until I die, bringing darkness to my days and terror to my nights." Each word seemed to age him further, the weight of his guilt etching new lines in his weathered face. Near the bodies, the mother of the wounded prisoner watched her son's labored breathing fade to stillness. Her anguish transformed to fury as she rose, her voice carrying across the gathered crowd. "May the good spirits curse every one of you." She snarled, spittle flying from her lips. "Live long enough to suffer betrayal from these white brothers you trust so blindly." Turning to her daughter, who stood frozen in shock, her voice softened to a broken whisper. "My child, your brother hunts in the spirit world now. No more will his footsteps announce his return from the hunt. No more will his voice call out, 'Here, sister, here is game for you.' The silence of his absence will be your only companion." The Washes followed their ancient customs, building elaborate funeral pyres from carefully selected wood. As smoke carried their dead to the spirit realm, Sarah's little sister collapsed, her small body burning with fever born of grief. For days she lay delirious, calling out for the dead in her dreams. 2 days after the executions, Major Ormsby dismissed his men with curt nods. Young Winnemucca departed with them, the weight of recent events visible in his measured steps. Only Natchez remained, his years of friendship with the Ormsbys and mastery of English, making him an essential bridge between two increasingly distant worlds. 14 days passed before the sisters could return to their mother. Winter had claimed the mountains where Virginia City would later stand, transforming their pine nut gathering grounds into a vast white silence. The snow fell endlessly as if nature itself tried to blanket the recent bloodshed. The peace was shattered when Chief Jam appeared at their camp, frost clinging to his hair. His news landed like stones in still water. "The true killers of McCullen and McWilliams have been captured," he announced, his voice bitter as winter berries. Major Ormsby himself confirms it. "They've hanged 2 men in California for the murders." His eyes, once proud, now burned with barely contained rage. "I've come to demand payment for my innocent men." Nachos met the chief's gaze without flinching. "You sacrificed your own people to appease the settlers' thirst for vengeance," he said, each word deliberate as a knife stroke. "You gave up those men, a new husband torn from his bride's arms, a beloved brother who fed his family, a son who was his mother's pride. Their blood stains your hands, not ours. We acted as peace demanded, as the white men would have done for us. If you seek compensation, look to your own conscience." This marked the Washes' first and only conflict with white settlers, but the price of that peace was 3 innocent lives, countless broken hearts, and a trust that, like the dead, could never be restored. The episode stood as a stark reminder of how justice, twisted by fear and prejudice, could strike down the innocent while the guilty walked free. The day after the execution of the innocent Washoeman, Natchez determined to investigate the Williams case himself. Recognizing the Washoe chief had no means of swift travel, he provided him with a horse, the first the impoverished tribe had ever possessed. 10 warriors accompanied Nachos on this mission, though none could have foreseen how their search for justice would uncover an even greater crime. Looking back now, the roots of the 1860 war could be traced to a spring morning that seemed ordinary enough. 2 Paiute girls, barely 12 years old, ventured into the familiar woods near Carson River to gather roots. As dusk approached and they hadn't returned, their parents' concern grew to panic. Words spread through the Indian camp, and soon the entire tribe mobilized for the search. Their tracking skills led them to an unexpected destination, the trading post of the Williams brothers, situated uncomfortably close to their camp. "We haven't seen your children," the brothers insisted, their faces betraying no emotion. "Search our house if you wish." The Paiute search party combed through every visible corner of the property. Despite their thoroughness, they found no trace of the girls. Days of increasingly desperate searching followed, until the grieving families nearly accepted the unthinkable, that their daughters were lost forever. A chance encounter broke the case wide open. One morning, a lone Indian rider approached the Williams cabin, his horse catching the brothers' interest. They quickly proposed a trade: 1 gun, 5 cans of powder, 5 boxes of caps, and 5 bars of lead for the horse. The rider, after some negotiation, agreed. The brothers led the horse to their stable, then disappeared inside their cabin to fetch the promised items. They returned with the gunpowder and caps, but refused to hand over the lead. When the rider rejected the incomplete payment and moved to reclaim his horse, the brothers unleashed their dog. The animal's attack drew a cry of pain from the rider, but his shout elicited something unexpected, children's voices responding from somewhere below. Blood running cold with realization, he abandoned the trade and raced back to camp. The truth of the missing girls finally revealed. Natchez and a group of warriors stormed the cabin, the girls' father leading the charge. The Williams brothers maintained their denials, even as tension filled the room. Suddenly the girl's brother snapped. His rifle swung in an arc, catching one Williams in the head. As he turned to strike the second brother, something extraordinary happened. One of the Williams dropped to his knees, revealing a trap door beneath his feet. The father descended into the darkness, his eyes slowly adjusting to reveal a nightmarish scene. His daughters lay on a small bed, rags stuffed in their mouths, their eyes wide with recognition and relief. He tore away their gags and carried them into the sunlight, where their condition spoke volumes about their days of captivity. The sight of the abused children sparked immediate action. The Williams brothers fell dead within moments, their cabin consumed by flames. These were the same men who would later be confused with McMullen's killers, their true crimes obscured by the chaos that followed. 3 days later, a different version of events spread through settler communities. Bloodthirsty savages murder innocent, hardworking traders. The cry for vengeance reached California, but with no army troops available, Major Ormsby assembled 160 volunteers. They arrived with guns ready, demanding surrender without seeking explanation. The Paiutes refused to hand over the father and brother who had rescued the girls from their tormentors. When Ormsby's men opened fire, the tribe responded as any people would. They took up arms to defend their own. The first shots of the 1860 war echoed across Nevada, born not from savagery, but from a father's desperate fight to save his children from monsters who wore the mask of civilization. The war lasted 3 brutal months,